should be good to land on there. I just came out of there. There's nobody. Well, there were two people in there, but one killed the other one, and I killed the other one. You got an Avenger right behind you. He looks like he's gonna shoot you. Yeah, he's looking right at you. This is not gonna end well. Just play cool. You're fine. He's still just sitting there. I wonder if he's waiting for you to get out to shoot you. I'm going for it. I got the shotgun. Don't get out yet. Just stay in there for a second. I'm gonna try and go around and get in the back of his ship. I won't shoot him, but if he shoots you, I'm gonna shoot him, okay? Okay, the back's already open. Okay, I got this. I got this. Slowly but surely. He's gonna move right when I get up to it, I just know it. Oh, I'm in. I made it. Oh, he just killed you? Oh, shit. Okay. I wonder if I can just shoot him out here. Okay, let me see if I can try and get up over close and like kind of look around the corner. Oh, I got him! Oh my god! Oh man, I took his ship. Alright, I'm done. I'm taking this to the end of the universe. It's over. That guy's done. Oh my god, that was amazing.
Hey everybody, welcome to Season 3, Episode 2 of Around the Verse. I'm Sandy Gardner, VP Marketing.
And I'm Chris Roberts, CEO and Project Director of Star Citizen and Squadron 42, making another guest appearance on Around the Verse. So on this week's news, on the Star Citizen Alpha front, 2.5 has been making good progress and is currently testing with the EVA CAR-T. We're hoping to go to wider PTU this weekend, so check for updates on the website for that. As you know, we're rotating between studios, so this week we're going to highlight the UK studio and what they've been working on. As you most likely already know, I've been spending a lot of time in the UK this year, working closely with the team on Squadron 42 as well as Star Citizen. I have to say it's an incredibly talented team. It's now 180 strong, which is amazing, and I'm lucky enough to have them help me build such an ambitious set of games. And of course, the other studios also are incredibly talented and great. So with that, let's throw it over to Nick Helms, the creative director of Foundry 42, and let's see what he has to say.
Hi everyone, welcome to another monthly update from here at Foundry 42 in Wilmslow. We've hopefully got a few interesting videos for you today, and we're going to start with Carl and Zane and Craig all talking to you about improvements we've been making to the landing system.
We've been working on a new landing system. We want to make everything a lot more intuitive, make sure the messaging is coming across to the player about what's actually going on in the game. So essentially how that's going to work now is as soon as you drop your landing gear, you're effectively in landing mode, which drops you down to precision mode as well, which means you can you've got more finer control over the ship speeds and the ship's movement, and it also swaps out the AR for the landing AR that kind of flags all the landing areas and the potential landing areas and whether or not they're recommended or whether they're valid or invalid. And that kind of ties into the comms system too, because when you approach some of these official landing zones, you'll have to ask permission to land on certain pads and stuff like that. So, you'll get near a particular landing zone, switch on comms, and you'll hail the tower at the station and request landing permission, and then they'll either grant it or not, and your AR will respond to whatever permissions they give. So, if they don't grant it, your AR will tell you that none of them are valid. If they do grant it, it'll flag one of them for you, call you over. You take your ship over there, and as soon as you're in a bounding box, you can either land manually, because your landing gear's down anyway, so you just do everything yourself, lower the ship down and physically stick it on the geometry yourself, or you can hold the auto landing key down, which will safely land you on the pad itself. And whether or not that's available depends on which station you're at. Some of the more high-tech stations will offer the automatic landing, and some of the others may not. It's just all about what services are on offer at that particular station. All aspects of the game we're constantly working on whether or not there's enough messaging there and trying to improve the experience and make it more intuitive to the player. And landing was just one of those ones that we were always aware we were going to come back and revisit, and this pass that we're doing on it now should do a really good job of clearing everything up for the player.
In addition to making the whole landing system more intuitive in general to use, we wanted to have the UI improvements accompany it. So we created a motion graphics mock-up of what this would look like with the landing in different states. So when you have a recommended landing pad, or a landing pad is you're not able to land at a certain landing pad, we have different UI states for that, and that's shown and demonstrated in this concept that we had one of our senior UI artists, Rich Marsden, mock up for us. So one thing we wanted to keep in mind was that because you could have so many different landing pads next to each other, that we didn't want too much UI overlapping each other, so we wanted to keep it simple but obvious enough to see when you're approaching the landing pad. The other thing that we also had to take into account was, say for instance, if landing pads are embedded deep within a crater or are hidden away, that we have a visual element to tell you where that landing pad is, despite it being embedded.
So our task was to improve the landing system to make it a lot simpler for players to land their ships. We'd had issues where players found it really hard to align to the landing area and touchdown. So the goal was to add in a few assists. So now we've got a feature where the ship will orientate itself to match the orientation of the landing area or the terrain of the planet. As soon as you engage the landing system, we switch the flight mode into precision mode, so that helps the player with the manoeuvrability of the ship. It means they can do a lot more precise manoeuvres and bring it down to a smooth touchdown. When the ship's within a specific height of the landing surface as well, we switch to automatic mode and bring the ship down under autopilot to touchdown. So when we get close to a potential landing surface, what we do is we fire out a number of raycasts from beneath the ship to test surface normals on the ground, and then we average those and try and orientate the ship upright to match those ground normals, so that you should come in at the same orientation as the potential landing site. Even with visual aids and UI feedback, it was still pretty hard to align the ship correctly onto a landing area, especially when you've got a massive ship like a Retaliator and you've got other obstacles around the pad that is quite easy to collide into. So I think this helps orientate the player better. The idea is that the end result is landing's a lot easier and is a more enjoyable experience. But even then, you can still turn off all these assists and try and land the ship yourself and potentially make a hash of it or not. This should all go live with 2.5, although we've got further iterations to do and to get some improved UI and get the latest UI prototypes in. So it's still an ongoing process.
I hope you enjoyed that, and now we're going to go over to Gordon, who's going to talk to you about some of the improvements we've been making to the FPS cover system.
You'll already have seen the weapon raising system that went into the live universe in an earlier patch. That's the system when you approach a wall, your weapon will rise up in front of you to stop it clipping. The cover system builds on top of that. As you approach the edge of a cover surface, your weapon will move slightly to indicate that you can lean out from cover. In that position you can press the lean key to peek out of cover, you can press the fire key to blind fire, or you can press the aim down sights button to step out fully and shoot. The parameters for the cover are all stored in data core. We've got different setups for different weapons and for the different positions in cover. Using Data4G's live edit feature, we can connect to the game in real time and edit these parameters as you're playing it. And this gives the artists and animators and designers lots of sort of freedom to tweak and modify these values rather than having to go in and create different overlay animations for each one. Sort of the heavy work of the cover system is performed in raycasting. We've got lots of rays that check whether you're in cover, where you can lean out of cover, and also do things like stop the weapon clipping through the wall if you rotate in towards cover. These rays also check how close, or try to estimate how close you are to the edge of cover, so that when you do perform a step out, it keeps you as close to the corner as possible, so you've got the best view while exposing the least amount of your body. Finally, we've implemented a feature called Slice the Pie, which is used while you're stepped out of cover. So as you rotate further in towards the cover surface, it will move you further out, sort of giving you a better view of your surroundings. And we're also going to extend this when we do top cover. We've got a similar feature called Slice the Cheese, which will take you further up so you can see down from a balcony or from a higher up position to shoot below you. The cover system was originally conceived to sort of slow the game down slightly more, make it feel a bit more tactical, sort of give you the option of taking your time and sort of picking your targets when you're playing it. A lot of the work went on with sort of Todd Pappy in Germany and John over here to sort of get the design right and get the feel of the game right. And we had lots of work from the various animators, Uzi and Colin did a lot of work to sort of get these animations feeling snappy and quick, so it felt sort of natural. And also there was a lot of focus on making sure you wouldn't get stuck in cover, or it wouldn't feel cumbersome. It was a very sort of fluid and natural feeling system. A lot of the designers obviously play it while they're doing their playtests, or all of us play it when we're doing the playtest, and it does seem to be getting used more and more now that the more features are coming online. And it does feel quite satisfying when you manage to kill someone from cover and when you actually manage to use it effectively. So all of the guns will work in the cover system. It's sort of weapon agnostic. They've all got, like I said, different setups for data core. So the likes of a sniper rifle will obviously have to raise slightly differently from a pistol. You'll hold it differently when you're in cover. But yeah, they will all work. You'll be able to walk up behind the wall with a shotgun, look out, fire a shot, come back in, pump the shotgun and so on. The procedural player cover system is going live in 2.6.
And that's all for this month from Foundry 42 in Wilmslow. We'll see you next month for another update.
Thanks, Nick. And in other news, Gamescom party tickets are sold out, so that is going to be a really fun event. There's a live stream happening if you can't make it on Friday, August 19th. Chris will be there.
Yep.
1200 PST.
In person.
Yeah, in person, or 1900 UTC. Big Benny's t-shirts in new sizes are still available for everybody. Also, our staff have been very keen to get in these t-shirts, so I look forward to seeing them on future ATV episodes. The rotating free fly ship, which was the Sabre last month, just ended for subscribers, and the next one is now the Gladius, so get in there and fly that. Meanwhile, there's a flash sale on the Sabre this weekend due to popular request. But speaking of ships, let's also check out one of the new flyable ships that will be in 2.5.
Hey, I'm Jeff. I'm currently working in tech design. I'm working on the Argo multi-person utility vehicle, and today I'm just going to be showing you around the Argo, showing you a little bit of the process that's gone behind it, and all the work that's gone into it, really. So the Argo itself is primarily a capital ship support vehicle. So what it does is you'll have the Idris fly into a location, but it might not be able to go through an asteroid field or something like that, and the Argo can then fly in. It can pick up any survivors in one of its pods, or it can be fitted with a cargo pod with repair gear in the back of it. And with that repair gear, if the ship gets damaged, it can send out a crew of engineers. They can fly around to the damaged part of the ship, and they can then start fixing it back up. It's also going to be having, the Argo doesn't currently have this, it's still work in progress, but it's going to have a mechanical arm that also will be able to repair parts of the ship. But as I say, that's currently work in progress. Unfortunately, it won't be going out in the live version of the ship. It is very much a support vessel. It has no quantum drive, it has no weapons, it's lightly armoured, it's completely tethered to its parent ship, but at the same time, it's not really designed to be going out and doing its own individual thing. It's purely a support craft. The cargo itself has 3 pods. One is a cargo pod, which you may have seen in the CitizenCon video from last year, where we introduced the Stanton. The cargo pod has space for a limited amount of cargo, and it's also got a seat for one personnel to sit in during transport. It's also got a transport variant which has 8 seats in it for obviously larger scale personnel pick-up drop-off, which would be quite handy for when the Idris is in orbit and you need to send the Argo down to a planet. And finally, it's going to have a rescue and recovery pod, which we haven't finished yet, but this pod will have limited medical facilities, so if someone gets injured on the battlefield, you can cart them into it and then take them back up to the ship to receive proper care. The Argo is also going to eventually be able to attach and detach its pods. So currently the different versions of the Argo are different ships. So you've got the cargo Argo and the transport Argo, which each have their own bespoke pod, but eventually it'll be able to detach one pod, attach another, or even if it can get to an escape pod from a destroyed capital ship, for example, it could go out and pick up one of their escape pods and then drop that off in the Idris or in whatever its parent ship would be at the time. And yeah, for a bit of the design process that went into the Argo, it used to have a much sort of smaller pod, but that was revealed to not really be able to store a lot of like cargo. It couldn't really fit a person in with a lot of other stuff, so the pod was made much bigger and it was given a rear ramp, so now picking up cargo, dropping it off is now considerably easier. It also looks a lot nicer, I think, personally. Also, the lower thrusters on the front of the ship, they're currently located underneath the cockpit, but previously they used to be actually on these thruster pucks, which are the circular objects that all the thrusters are mounted on. And what they would do is they used to fire down into the pod itself, which, yeah, we had to fix that because it didn't look too great. That is the thrusters on the Argo, on the legs. They don't rotate with the legs, so when it's landed, it actually uses its legs as supports. And when it takes off, the legs will rotate back into like a fixed position so that they can help with flying, because the ends of the legs each have a main thruster on them. And they've also got the retros mounted in there. But the pucks themselves on the sides don't rotate, so they can actually help with takeoff and landing. Otherwise, the ship would have a fairly hard time getting off the ground. There's also a few minor design changes that went through, like in the early versions of the Argo that the public may have seen. The legs were sloped much further forwards, so a lot of the weight at the back of the Argo was actually unsupported. There's a few videos that we got floating around where when the Argo is placed into a gravity box, the sheer weight of the Argo, it would sort of rest on the floor for a few seconds and then just rock backwards. And yeah, that was a bit silly. But yeah, that's the Argo. It's a lovely little ship runner, basically. It's a skiff that is a general workhorse for all the capital ships, hopefully, will be thrown around.
Hey guys, Tyler Witkin here, Community Manager in the Austin, Texas studio, here to bring you this week's MVP. A huge congratulations to Lord Bain for his efforts in creating SC Lorecast. Bain takes Star Citizen lore to a whole new level by bringing it to life with music, sound effects, and epic voice acting. We can't get enough of these, so keep them coming, and congratulations again, you're this week's MVP. Back to you guys.
There you go. As well as the Argo, there's a Reliant, which we showed last week on ATV and will be flyable also in 2.5. Now for the final segment of this week's show, we have something that I think will blow you all away. I'm going to hand it over to Nathan to get it started, but have fun.
The stuff we're about to show you today is a full R&D investigation into the catastrophic damage of capital ships. There's some very specific milestones and goals that we try to accomplish with this, because there is a high-level plan to have fully explorable dead ships, not only in space but also on planet surfaces. The idea behind The R&D work was initiated, shall we say, from a key point in the story. It was something that I wanted to kill two birds with one stone. So we know we wanted to achieve these things for the PU, and why not try and do the same for some parts of the story. So the starting point was, we've obviously got a lot of capital ship material that we can use, ranging from the Idris to the Javelin to the Bengal. The key point is that we didn't want to have to recreate everything from scratch. So you could, for example, take an environment or a ship and go, okay, this is 100% damage now, and start again. You would get a very good result that way. But what we wanted to do is we really wanted to push strong reuse of existing assets, simple shader swaps, and full use of VFX and lighting to push a mood and a feel into these areas. By default, when I went around a lot of the different departments and I spoke to them about the catastrophic damage, the default thought that comes to everyone's head is it's on fire. Everything is burning to ashes, and no one can escape or get out or get in, and that's great. But if you study real-world reference, such as aircraft carriers, big ships in the ocean, oil rigs, they have very advanced fire retardant systems that's more than capable of essentially putting catastrophic fires out, so fire crews can get in. And not only does that kind of make things accessible, but it also kind of opens opportunity to have lots of wet surfaces that we can then, with the light going out, play with very kind of clever lighting techniques to try and like kind of push a mood that we're after, which is dark, dead, slow. It should kind of work. The environment that you're used to should now be working against you. So these are the things that we're trying to create. As mentioned, first we looked at a lot of real-world reference, such as oil rigs, large structures that can put themselves out, like aircraft carriers. Obviously, that's not enough. There's a wealth of films and reference that we can kind of look at and pull inspiration from. I'm lucky enough to have worked on some of those, so much like the cat. But the real kind of mood and feeling came from a lot of kind of Ridley Scott stuff. And if the wheel isn't broken, I don't believe in fixing it. So we had a lot of inspiration from IP such as Alien, Blade Runner, all the 80s classic sci-fi films, shall we say. I hope that gives you an insight into the work that's gone into the R&D for the catastrophic damage effects. It's a huge collaborative approach between a lot of departments, not just art, but also Ali and his team and Mike and his team with the VFX. Seeing everyone come together to kind of produce these results is awe-inspiring, and I hope you liked it.
Hi. So for the last couple of months, the graphics team have been working on a bunch of features to improve the quality of the lighting, predominantly so we can get some better visuals in the downed ships or the crashed ships. This mainly comes down to improving the particle lighting and for our VFX team, which we've added some volumetric features there to really make it stand out, especially when we've got all the fog and other effects going. And the other part of what we've been working on is to improve the bloom and lens flares to give a better glare when you look at these bright lights, which we get in these very dark and broken ships. When you think of a derelict or crashed spaceship, probably one of the first things you can picture is the atmospheric lighting, with shafts of light in the smoky, mangled aftermath. So it was clear that this would be an area of technology we would need to focus on to achieve that look. The first improvement we wanted to make was on the lighting of our particle effects. Previously, they had used their own lighting system, which didn't support many of the usual features of our lights. So for example, we'd be missing crucial shadows, or the brightness of the lights would be incorrect. The rest of the engine, however, uses a system called tiled lighting, which can efficiently cope with hundreds of light sources. And so we adapted this system so that we could use it on our particle effects too. And this really helped us tie the particle lighting in with the rest of the art much better. However, because particles are really just approximations of volumes, we decided to go one step further and apply volumetric lighting by sampling the lighting many times across each particle's volume. This gives every light the ability to cast light shafts within every particle effect. The other big change we've made is to improve our bloom and flare effect, which simulates the glare and bounces of light you get due to the imperfections within a camera or the human eye. There are generally two approaches to flares, artist-driven and procedural. CryEngine's base flare implementation is artist-driven and blends and distorts many textures on top of each other to create complex flares that can look great in the right conditions, but also aren't physically based and so don't simulate the actual light shape or respond correctly to other effects such as depth of field and motion blur. Procedural techniques, on the other hand, are generated by code purely based off the higher dynamic range image data, and therefore give accurate highlight shapes and respond to other effects as expected. However, procedural techniques usually look quite simplistic due to their cost, so we came up with an efficient method of generating physically based flares where each individual element can be customized to exhibit a wide range of physically based distortions and color shifts, yet the whole system still runs faster than our previous system. So hopefully you can see the benefits of all the new tech, and hopefully it'll be with you soon in the next few weeks in the next release.
I've been working on the sound design for the ambience inside the Idris. And specifically the last few days I've been working on the various damage levels across the ship. So from 10% damage right up to 100%. And today I'm going to show you the more extreme of those damage states, and that's the Idris on a really, really bad day.
So here we are on the Idris, and obviously looking around, something pretty catastrophic has happened. So this is the audio design for a very damaged, crashed in fact, Idris, and we'll fly through the level now, nice and slowly, so you can soak up the ambience, and I'll keep the chat to a minimum. Once again, with this version of the Idris, the emphasis has been on detail and creating a very positional 3D environment to explore. And this approach of using hundreds upon hundreds of individual sound spots to create the audio environment does give you this sort of 3D positional thing, but it gives you a great sense of depth. And as you approach many of these sound spots, their character changes, they brighten as you get closer to them, and we bring in lots more layers of detail. So as you examine something and get closer to it, it opens up and you see and hear more information. So just for a moment, let's remind ourselves what it's like at the other end of the damage spectrum on board the Idris on a good day. And you can hear that it's a pretty serene experience. It's a calm, gentle ambience. The ship's humming away nicely. But as we start to bring up the procedural damage in the audio, things start to rattle and hum, and the ambience changes dramatically. The whole feel of the ship changes. Much more tension. These electrical boxes on the wall rattling and vibrating in different ways. again reflected in hundreds of sound spots across the ship that all have this dynamic character which morphs and changes to reflect the health of the ship. So right now, let's have a look back on the catastrophically damaged Idris. Let's take a quick look behind the scenes. So here you can see we've got some emergency fire sprinkler sounds, and there's a particle system right here, and that has a sound of the sprinkler associated with it. But here on the floor is an auxiliary sound that is the sound of the water drops splashing and hitting other surfaces. So, you know, there's these different dimensions to even simple ambient sounds such as a fire sprinkler. So hopefully that's given you a sense of what we're doing to bring the ship alive, really, and take our immersion to the next level. So yeah, thanks for watching.
Now, tell me that wasn't amazing. I hope that shows the kind of attention to detail we're aiming for. Imagine coming across a crash wreck on a planet or floating in space, or perhaps in Squadron 42. It's just going to be so cool.
Yeah, that was totally awesome. And in other news, Ben is back at work. Happy to have him back at work. He may or may not make an appearance on RTV, although it's a little early as we're changing the time to accommodate the UK. Reverse the Verse will be on at 4 p.m. local UK time so that you can Q&A with UK devs, including our vehicle art director, Nathan Dursley.
Who's always very interesting to listen to. So with that, we'd like to thank all the subscribers out there for making this show possible, and all the backers out there for making Star Citizen Squadron 42 possible. And we'll see you around the verse.
Around the verse. Did you know that many of Star Citizen's developers are on social media? If you would like to follow Star Citizen on Facebook, you can find us here.
Or on Twitter, here.
And even Instagram, here.
And for a full list of developers' personal accounts they're willing to share with the community, check out this link. You can find out what I bought at Amazon this week.
Star Wars stuff.
It was probably Star Wars stuff.